Hashtag YouTube narration script. Your financial advisor makes 40% more money if you keep working 9 to 5 forever, and they're banking on you never discovering this one passive income number that could generate $47,000 annually while you sleep. In the next 8 minutes, I'm revealing exactly what they don't want you to know. Look, I'm not saying all financial advisors are out to get you. But I am saying their business model depends on one thing: keeping you dependent on them. And when I stumbled onto this strategy 3 years ago, everything changed for me. I went from checking my bank account every Sunday with anxiety to waking up on Monday mornings with an extra $128 sitting in my account overnight. No side hustle. No MLM scheme. No cryptocurrency gambling. Just a legitimately boring, unglamorous strategy that your advisor probably doesn't want to talk about. Here's the thing that nobody tells you: the financial services industry is worth $22 trillion. Trillion. With a T. And you know how they keep that money flowing? By keeping you in a permanent state of not enough. Not enough savings. Not enough retirement. Not enough passive income. They've built an entire machine designed to make you feel like you need them forever. I discovered this accidentally while reorganizing my investment accounts. I noticed something weird. My buddy Marcus, he's an electrician, makes decent money but nothing crazy, was casually mentioning that he cleared 60 grand last year without picking up a single extra job. I thought he was bullshitting me. But when I actually sat down and looked at his portfolio breakdown, I realized he was doing something so simple that I'd completely overlooked it. And the moment I understood it, I realized why the advisor I'd been paying 1% of my portfolio to every single year had never mentioned it. Because if I did this, I wouldn't need him anymore. So what is this strategy? It's called dividend stacking, and it's literally the opposite of sexy, which is probably why it works so well. Let me break this down in a way that actually makes sense. When you buy a regular stock, you own a tiny piece of a company. Sometimes that company makes profit. When it does, instead of keeping all that money, they can decide to give some of it back to the people who own pieces of them. That payout is called a dividend. Most people know this exists, but they treat it like pocket change. They don't think about it. But here's what your financial advisor doesn't want you realizing: if you stack specific types of dividend-paying assets together strategically, the numbers get absolutely insane. Most people are told to buy index funds. You've heard this a million times, right? Just buy the S&P 500. Boring. Steady. Passive. And look, that's not bad advice. But here's what they're not telling you. There are specific dividend-focused funds and stocks that pay quarterly dividends, and some that pay monthly dividends. When you combine these strategically, you're not just getting one check a year. You're getting money hitting your account constantly. Let me give you actual numbers, because this is where it gets real. Say you have $100,000 to invest. Your typical advisor would probably put you in a diversified portfolio that returns around 8% annually if you're lucky. That's $8,000 a year. Sounds good until you realize that half of that is capital gains that you're not actually receiving until you sell. So your real passive income? Around 2% or 3%. Maybe $3,000. Now here's what dividend stacking does. You take that same $100,000 and allocate it across a mix of dividend aristocrats. These are companies that have increased their dividend for 25 years straight, which sounds boring as hell but is actually the most reliable money printer in existence, plus dividend-focused ETFs, plus some high-yield options like preferred stocks or REITs. These can range anywhere from 5% to sometimes 8% or higher in dividend yield alone, separate from any capital appreciation. Now suddenly you're looking at $5,000 to $8,000 annually in actual cash dividend payments. Money you're actually receiving. Not hypothetical returns. Real deposits into your account. But wait, there's the thing that really blew my mind. That 47,000 number I mentioned? That's not from $100,000. That's the annual income potential you could be generating on $1 million portfolio using dividend stacking. And before you say, I don't have $1 million, hear me out. Most people who do this don't start with $1 million. They build to it over time. But the point is, this is the number your advisor is quietly banking on you never calculating, because once you realize you could be generating $47,000 in passive income, why would you need them? The second thing about dividend stacking that drives the financial services industry crazy is that it requires almost zero active management. You're not day trading. You're not checking your stocks hourly. You buy the positions, set them and forget them, and the dividends just keep coming. This is the opposite of what they want. They want you to feel like you need constant management. They want you to feel like the market is complicated and scary and you need a professional. Dividend stacking isn't complicated. A high school student could understand it. And that simplicity is a threat to their 40% higher earnings when you're dependent on them. Here's the third thing, and this one actually matters legally. When you implement dividend stacking correctly, you're positioning yourself to potentially take advantage of preferential tax treatment on qualified dividends. I'm not a tax advisor, so talk to yours about this, but there are scenarios where dividend income is taxed at lower rates than regular income. That means you're keeping more of what you make. Agencies don't advertise this because, again, it makes you less dependent. The fourth thing that genuinely surprised me was the psychological shift. Once I started building passive dividend income, something changed in my brain. I stopped seeing my net worth as just a number on a screen. I started seeing it as an income generator. That $100,000 wasn't $100,000. It was $5,000 per year in automatic income. That reframe is powerful. It makes you think differently about your money. It makes early retirement not just a fantasy. It makes it math. Now, here's what I need to be honest about. Dividend stacking isn't magic. You can't do it with $5,000 and expect life-changing results. You need a baseline amount of capital to make this worthwhile. Most people suggest $25,000 to $50,000 as a starting point where you'll actually notice the dividend payments. The more capital you deploy, the more income you generate. This is the one advantage financial advisors actually have: they can work with large portfolios. But here's the thing, you don't need to pay someone 1% annually to do this. You can literally open a Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab account and do it yourself in an afternoon. Some of the best dividend aristocrat stocks include companies like Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, and dozens of others. These are household names that have been paying and increasing dividends for decades. You can buy them directly. You can buy funds that focus on them. And when you combine them with dividend-focused ETFs and some specialized options, you're creating a system where money just keeps coming in. Here's what happens next. Once you build this passive income stream, something shifts psychologically. You start to work differently. You're not desperate. You're not taking that awful job just because you need the money. You're not staying with that toxic employer. You suddenly have options. And options, my friend, are the most valuable thing in the world. The financial services industry doesn't want you to know this because they profit from your scarcity mindset. They profit from you feeling stuck. They profit from you believing you need them. But dividend stacking? That's their kryptonite. It's the strategy that actually builds wealth while they sleep, and once you understand it, it's impossible to unsee. So here's what you actually do. First, if you don't have any investment capital yet, start there. Open a high-yield savings account. Get some money set aside. Once you've got that foundation, research dividend aristocrats. Look at what companies have been increasing dividends for 25 years. Buy a few. Then look at dividend-focused ETFs. Add some of those. Start small. Understand how it works. then scale it up as you accumulate more capital. The beautiful thing about this strategy is that time is your friend. The longer you let it run, the more powerful it becomes. Because dividends create more dividends. You reinvest them, they buy more shares, and suddenly you're not just earning on your initial investment. You're earning on the earnings. It's compounding in real time, and every month, money's hitting your account. I'm not saying ditch your financial advisor tomorrow. But I am saying, learn this. Understand it. Calculate what it could mean for you. Because once you do, you'll understand why they've been so quiet about it. And you'll be able to make decisions from a place of knowledge instead of desperation. That's power. That's the $47,000 secret. And now you know.